Hello, my wonderful class. I'm missing you guys so much. The last couple days we've been working on angles and measuring them with a protractor, and I've seen a lot of great work with that. So now we're going to take it one step further, and we're going to be dealing with having two angle measurements and figuring out a missing angle measure. So the first most important thing that we need to learn from this is that a straight line is equal to 180 degrees. So any straight line you see is always going to be 180. If you take a look at the protractors that you've been using on your independent work, you'll notice that it's only a half circle, okay? So it's only a half circle, and so from 0 all the way around the protractor, you notice on each ends it shares a 0 and it shares a 180. So that means that it can either be no line at all, which is 0, or it can be a full line, which is 180 degrees. And that's going to be our kind of like our magic number for this unit. It's going to come in really big use. So let's take this first question right here. So we see that this big angle is 110 degrees, and we have a question mark over at this acute angle that's right next to it. This is why 180 is so important. We know this whole line is 180 degrees, okay? So if that whole line has to equal 180, and we've already used 110 of it, how are we going to figure out the question mark? How would we figure out this acute angle that's missing? What you're going to do is you're going to take that 180 and subtract 110, okay? Because that's the number that we know, so that means that 110 degrees have already been used up with that whole full 180 degrees of the line. Okay, we got 0 minus 0 is 0, 8 minus 1 is 7, and 1 minus 1 is 0. So this missing measurement right here in our acute angle is 70 degrees. And you can quickly check your work by making sure that these two measurements add up to 180. So you can quickly do 110 plus 70 to see if it equals 180. So now let's go on to, erase some of that. Let's go on to this one right next door. So this one is kind of flip-flopped. We see that we know our acute angle, all right? Our acute angle is 35 degrees, and we're missing the degree measurement for our obtuse angle. Again, we know a whole straight line is 180 degrees. So we have 180. We know the acute angle is 35 degrees, so we're going to subtract 35 because 35 degrees have already been used up of that 180. Remember, we can't do 0 minus 5, so we'll cross it out and borrow, make that a 10. Borrow from the tens place, make that a 7. 10 minus 5 is 5. 7 minus 3 is 4. And 1 minus 0 is 1. So now we figure out that our missing angle measurement for our obtuse angle is 145 degrees. And again, super easy to check it. Just add 145 plus 35 and it'll get you 180. Okay, so that's how you're going to solve it when it's going to be a straight line and the straight line is divided into 2 or 3 or even 4 angles. You know all of the angle measurements have to add up to be 180 when this bottom part is a straight line. If you notice my two examples at the bottom, they are not straight lines. These are big angles that are separated into 2 angles. All right, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. So let's go ahead and start over here. So we have an angle, and then we have this big line over here. What this is saying is that this whole obtuse angle is equal to 100 degrees. So looking down here, our whole big obtuse angle is separated into 2 other angles. We have 55 degrees and then our missing angle. Well, we know that these two together have to add up to be 100. So we're going to do the same steps as we did above, but instead of using 180, we're going to use 100 because that's as big as this angle can go. It tells us that this obtuse angle is equal to 100. So we'll do 100 minus 55. We know that we can't do 0 minus 5, so cross that out, make it a 10. And remember our trick. Instead of being confused all the times of crossing out, don't look at the 0 by itself. Look at it as a 10. Think to yourself, what's 1 less than 10? 9. So we cross out that 9, cross out that 1 to make it a 0. And now we're good to subtract. You got 10 minus 5 is 5. 9 minus 5 is 4. And then 0 minus 0 is 0. So we just figured out that this missing angle is going to be 45 degrees. And then you can quickly check it by making sure that 45 plus 55 is equal to your grand total of 100 degrees. Very similar to the one over here. This one is probably going to be your easier one. So you see that we have a big obtuse angle. This angle is 45 degrees, and this angle is 95 degrees. What we're trying to figure out is how much is this whole angle all together, the big angle. So what we're simply going to do is add up 95, and then add up 45. Oh, it's not there. All right, 5 plus 5 is 10. Carry my 1. 1 plus 9 is 10. 10 plus 4 is 14. So we see that this whole big angle measurement is 140 degrees. Okay, so I chose these specific examples because these are ones that are very similar to your independent problems that you will be working on your own for today in math. So make sure, remember, you can come and watch these videos as many times as you need to. You can pause, you can rewind, because there's going to be one of each kind of these problems on your worksheet that you're going to have to fill out. So make sure that you're understanding how I'm getting the missing measurements. So if you would like, you can pause right here to do your independent math, or you can keep watching. I'm just going to go ahead and start reading Number the Stars from where we left off last week. So we left off at a super suspenseful part. We know that Anne-Marie's mom was walking down with Ellen's parents to drop them off at, I think, Uncle Henrik with him so they can leave to go to Sweden. So we think. We're not 100% sure they're going to Sweden. But Anne-Marie was waiting up for her mom, and she was like, well, she should be back at this time. Okay, maybe just a little bit longer. Well, she ended up falling asleep, waking up right about when the sun was rising, and realized that her mom wasn't home yet. So she gets up, looks out the window, and she sees kind of like a blob out in the distance, kind of like at the end of their long driveway, and she realized that it was her mom lying there. And that's kind of where it ended. So very suspenseful. We don't know what happened to her mom. So I want you to be making some predictions right now. What do you think might have happened to Anne-Marie's mother when she was traveling back from transporting Ellen and her family, who are obviously Jews? So, still moving quietly so as not to wake her sister, Anne-Marie sped down the stairs and through the kitchen door. Her foot caught the loose step, and she faltered for a moment, righting herself, and then dashed across the ground to the place where her mother lay. "Mama!" she cried desperately. "Mama!" "Shh," Mama said, raising her head. "I'm all right." "But, Mama," Anne-Marie asked, kneeling beside her, "what's wrong? What happened?" Her mother pulled herself to a sitting position. She winced in pain. "I'm all right, really. Don't worry. And the Rosens are with Henrik. That's the important thing." She smiled a little, though her face was drawn with pain, and she bit her lip, and the smile was fading. "We got there quite quickly, even though it was still so dark, and it was difficult for the Rosens, not knowing the path. Henrik was there waiting on the boat, and he took them aboard and down below so quickly to the cabin that they were invisible in an instant. He said the others were already there. Peter got them there safely, too. So I turned and hurried home. I was so anxious to get back to you girls. I should have been more careful." Talking softly, she brushed some grass and dirt from her hands. "Can you believe it? I was nearly here. Well, maybe just halfway, when I tripped over a root and went sprawling." Mama sighed. So clumsy, she said as if she was scolding herself. I'm afraid my ankle is broken, Anne-Marie. Thank goodness it's nothing worse. An ankle mends, and I'm home, and the Rosens are with Henrik. You should have seen me, Anne-Marie, she said, shaking her head with a wry look. Your proper mama, crawling inch by inch. I probably looked like a drunkard. She reached for Anne-Marie's arm. Here, let me lean on you. I think if you support me on this side, I can make it all the way up to the house. Oh, what a clumsy fool I am. Here, let me put my arm over your shoulders. You're such a good, strong, brave girl. Very slow. Let's go. Mama's face was white with pain. Anne-Marie could see it, even though the faint light of the approaching dawn. She hobbled, leaning heavily on her daughter, pausing again and again towards the house. When we get inside, I'll have a cup of tea, and then we'll call the doctor. I'll tell him that I fell on the stairs. You'll have to help me wash away the grass and twigs. Here, Anne-Marie, let me rest for a minute. They had reached the house, and Mama sank down to the steps and sat. She took several deep breaths. Anne-Marie sat beside her and held her hand. Mama, I was so worried when you didn't come back. Mama nodded. I knew you would be. I thought of you worrying as I dragged myself along, but here I am, safe with you now. Everything is fine. What time is it? It must be 4:30 or close to it. Ah, they will sail soon. Mama turned her head and gazed across the meadow to the sea and the vast sky above it. There were no stars now, only the gray, pale sky with pinkness at its border. Soon they will be safe, too. Anne-Marie relaxed. She stroked her mother's hand and looked down at the discolored, swollen ankle. Mama, what is this? She asked suddenly, reaching into the grass at the foot of the steps. Mama looked and gasped. Oh, my God, she said. Anne-Marie picked it up. She recognized it now, knew what it was. It was the packet that Peter had given to Mr. Rosen. Mr. Rosen tripped on this step, remember? It must have fallen from his pocket. We'll have to save it and give it back to Peter. Anne-Marie handed it to her mother. Do you know what it is? Her mother didn't answer. Her face was stricken. She looked at the path and down at her ankle. It's important, isn't it, Mama? It was for Uncle Henrik. I remember Peter said it was very important. I heard him tell that to Mr. Rosen. Her mother tried to stand, but fell back against the steps with a groan. My God, she murmured again. It may all have been for nothing. Anne-Marie took the packet from her mother's hand and stood. I will take it, she said. I know the way, and it's almost light now. I can run like the wind, Mama. Mama spoke quickly, her voice tense. Anne-Marie, go into the house and get the small basket on the table. Quickly, quickly. Put an apple into it and some cheese, and put this packet underneath. Do you understand? Hurry. I want us to think, why do we think that she told Anne-Marie to get a basket and put different foods in there and have the packet underneath? Why do you think her mom would do that? Think about it for a moment. So I'm thinking that I kind of made a connection to Little Red Riding Hood. That's whenever I think about a girl going somewhere with a basket, I always think about Little Red Riding Hood and how she was going to see her grandma, and, we all know the story. I think Anne-Marie is going to do this so if she gets stopped by the Nazis, that they won't suspect anything of it. Oh, a little girl maybe going to her grandma's house or her uncle's house or whatever relative she says where she's going, and she's just bringing this stuff along to them, and they're not really going to suspect a 12-year-old girl up to no good, especially if she's just traveling by herself. Anne-Marie did instantly as she was told. The basket and the packet at the bottom. She covered it with a napkin, then wrapped some cheese, an apple. She glanced around the kitchen, saw some bread, and added that, too. The little basket was full. She took it to where her mother was. You must run to the boat, Anne-Marie. If anyone should stop you, who would stop me? Anne-Marie, you understand how dangerous this is. If any soldiers see you, if they stop you, You must pretend to be nothing more than a little girl. A silly, empty-handed little girl taking lunch to a fisherman. A foolish uncle who forgot his bread and cheese. Mama, what is it at the bottom? But her mother still didn't answer the question. Go, she said firmly. Go right now and run as fast as you can. So Mama's not telling her what this packet is, and it kind of makes me think back to a couple of chapters before when Anne Marie and Uncle Henrik were having that talk in the farm, how he said that they purposely don't tell the girls everything because it's easier to be confident and it's easier to lie and act like they don't know what's going on if they truly don't know what's going on. Instead, it gives them kind of bravery. Because if they constantly tell them everything about the soldiers and the Nazis and all this work that they're doing with the Jews to help them escape, then the girls are more likely to get caught and more likely to be afraid. So I see that Mama is also not telling the whole truth to Anne Marie, probably for that reason. Anne Marie kissed her mother quickly, grabbed the basket from her mother's lap, turned, and ran toward the path. So what I would like for you to do for your exit ticket today, what do you think is going to happen next? So Anne Marie has the basket, has the packet on the bottom, and now she's off running to the dock. We don't even know how far away it is. It could be a mile, it could be 2 miles, it could be 4 miles. We have no idea, but Anne Marie is off running to go get this packet that is very important to her Uncle Henrik. Do you think she'll get stopped by Nazi soldiers? Do you think maybe she'll get hurt just like Mama got hurt? What do you think is going to happen to Anne Marie when she's off giving this packet to her Uncle Henrik? So I miss you guys so much. Make sure that you are doing the very best work. Email me if you have any questions, and I hope to see you guys soon. Have a great day.